Hi, welcome to the Etiquette Show, our entree to the world of culture, gender, sexuality, tradition, business, and so much more. Hi, I'm Regina Kirschman.
And I'm Dr. Sam Dubé. Together, we're going to take you on an extraordinary journey with engaging people from around the world, starting from right here in Ottawa, the capital of Canada. Hi, Dr. Sam Dubé here on behalf of Agora Media and the Etiquette Show. And with us today, I would love to welcome Carmelia Ray, celebrity matchmaker and online dating expert. Carmelia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I always love talking about dating and relationships. We're going to spill the tea in the next, 40, 45 minutes?
I hope not, because I've got my tea right here and I don't want
okay. Yeah. Well, then we're going to sip some tea. How about that?
That sounds great. And you know what? I just want to say to our viewers, we had a little hiccup in meeting with Carmelia, and it was all on our end due to a change of venue. And I want to thank Carmelia. She was so gracious in accommodating us. So shout out to you there, Carmelia. You're a joy to speak with, and you accommodated us so well, and I want to thank you so much for that. Now, that being said, you and I had a little chat yesterday, and during that chat, you mentioned to me that despite the pandemic, because this interview is taking place during the pandemic, and I'm located in Ontario, and shout out also, both you and I, proud Asian Canadians, so there we go, and we're experiencing another lockdown, like a maximal lockdown. And you mentioned to me that despite the pandemic, that there was progress in online dating on your end, that you had a banner year. Could you please speak to that for us?
Absolutely. I mean, I have always known, and I'm fortunate that I am in a, crisis-proof, pandemic-proof business or industry, because at the height of crisis and when the world is turning upside down, people want to bond and they don't want to have these experiences alone, and they look at their life and think about what really matters. And for many people, the idea of, and the experience, not even the idea of, the actual experience of being alone during a pandemic and not having that shoulder to lean on. And it's different. A romantic partner, when it's a healthy partnership, brings so much value and can contribute to so many of your, successes, and make those, failures a little less, hurtful. So for me, I've had more inquiries, more interest, and more, different situations that have come up. In the beginning of the pandemic, even though I'm a matchmaker and I bring people together, I was coaching several people in their breakup, during their pandemic breakup. So all of a sudden, one influencer called me her love recovery coach. Another one called me a breakup, expert, or a heart repair doctor. I mean, so in a way, we are two doctors here, right? Like, you are the medical doctor, and I would say I would be the love doctor impacting the heart. So to that point, I helped people through their breakups. I went through my own turbulent time in my own home and relationship and family. My father passed away at the very beginning of January 7th, 2020, not because of COVID. And it was almost a blessing in disguise, because I couldn't imagine, our elderly and those sick folk who we can't even be by their bedside or bury our family and all of these things. So Sam, essentially my phone hasn't stopped ringing, because people want to connect, and they're wanting to figure out, like, how do I date? This is the new dating platform. Like, right now, we could be on a virtual date because I'm in lockdown. We're in a mandated stay-at-home scenario. Now, I'm working from my office, and you are working from your space, but other than being here, we're home. And that makes it even more difficult for singles who want to pair, who want to have this trusted person in their bubble, and now they don't even have the venues to do that. So restaurants are closed. It's the middle of winter for some folks out in Vancouver. I mean, you guys get the warm weather and can still meet up. But here in Toronto, where there's no snow right now, but that could change tomorrow. We could be in the middle of a 10-foot snowstorm. And then what are we going to do? How romantic is that to be bundled up? So people really need to sharpen their communication skills and really sharpen their listening skills and, being patient inside of the fact you're also adding all of this other stress in an already stressful scenario of dating. So all the memes of dating for 2020, I mean, they were partially hilarious and partially depressing, that, hey, now I'm time to look for Mr. Right. Thanks, pandemic. That ruined my entire chances now. So.
Yeah. And also talking about Ms. Right, right? So, okay. I have two friends that are going through separations and divorce right now. It amplified. One was just prior to COVID, and the other was during. It started during. And so I've also heard of stories of people getting together, literally in McDonald's parking lots, going through the drive-through and then parking their cars next to each other and having like a date just so they could see each other in person. What advice tops your list as to how to be productive in online dating or in dating in general during the pandemic, Carmelia?
Well, the most productive advice is that you make sure that when you do show up, and first of all, show up. So and show up consistently and make it a habit. Schedule it if you need to. Nothing gets, your results of your dating life have everything to do with the effort that you're putting into it. Now, for some people who are putting in all the effort, I'm sure there are some viewers that are like, I'm on every day, I'm doing everything I can. But my advice, of course, is the consistency and showing up, because there are a lot of people that just are afraid to connect. And connection for most people, especially right now, begins in your mind and begins from a conversation. And so knowing also who you are and what your needs are as a partner. I mean, there's just so many, Sam. I appreciate the question, but it's like get yourself ready. Make sure you've got a great profile photo, the kind of photo that is accurate, is representative of who you are. And by the way, people aren't just satisfied now with just your photo. Apps are incorporating video, so people can actually show their video in front of themselves. So Sam, knowing that I was going to be on video with you today, I made an effort. Now, I don't wake up like this. Trust me, I did not look like this when I woke up. Not at all. I give credit to the beautiful, woman that helped me get ready today. And so if I were going on a date, this isn't pretend. I don't get a trial, interview with you and your audience. If I just didn't want to, I care about my impression. I care about how I'm going to show up for you, for myself. I do this for me. Before I do it for anybody else, I like looking good. I like feeling pretty. These are things that resonate with me. And so I want to bring the best version of myself to any scenario. And you cannot be in a position to give or receive if there's a lot of muckiness. Now, to that point, for people who struggle, we're all struggling. I'm not sitting here and I'm perfect. I am far from perfect, guys. I have 3 kids. I've got a business. I've got my own, woes, but I don't come to this conversation carrying a bag of my garbage, right? Like there's a time and place to deal with those things, and you can put yourself out there and get to know yourself. Because practice is progress. You cannot get better or understand what you need thinking about it and not being in it yourself and trying it. So those are some of the things. Of course, we all judge by what we see. And to grab somebody's attention, you've got to show up looking and feeling your best. And if you look and feel your best in your PJs, and your hair's not, like whatever, and you feel comfortable that way, you do you, because you're looking to attract the person that will accept you as you are. And even though I don't wake up like this, there is a level of comfort that I have and a level of pride that I have in my own self-care. And as anybody who's ever traveled or will travel, as they always say, take that oxygen mask, put it on your face first, because you cannot help anybody if you're out of oxygen. So what do you need in your dating life to fill you up with the oxygen that you need so that you have the confidence to get out there?
Okay, now you mentioned one thing about consistently showing up. I think we can all agree on that, because if you're going to put in the effort, then you damn well show up to the party. You know what I mean? If you're putting for an ad. But the thing is this, I know a lot of men complain they're just not getting bites, right? And a lot of women are like, they get a ton of bites, but they're not getting quality bites, right? So I think all this plays into different gender dynamics. And if we talk about the full spectrum of gender identities, then it gets very complicated, right? So do you have any advice as to how different types of people can maximize their attraction value, shall we say, or getting people to bite? Because I think that's the main issue, right? Like, I'll show up to the party. Everyone's going to, most people I know are going to show up to the party, but how do you get the invitation?
Yeah, there's so much in that. Number one.
I know I'm putting you on the spot.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Right now, I understand the importance of talking about gender, and typically here's where men struggle. Okay. I'm talking specifically on online dating apps. I'll tell you where men struggle is where they lie. Men lie about typically they fib, or they stretch the truth about height, and they stretch the truth about their wealth or stability. Okay. Women will stretch the truth about our age and our weight. We will take off 5 pounds or remove a couple of years, because that's where our sensitivities are. The competition in younger women, and for men, the competition for the tall guys, whatever that is. Those are what I can tell you about some of the concerns or insecurities when it comes to online dating. Now, men and women both experience ghosting. They both experience pure silence. So when you say men don't get any bites, I can tell you, I have a long lineup of women that will say the same thing. They don't get any bites. Okay. So it happens for both sides. Anytime somebody is not, having a positive experience on the app, I'm always going to go through my checklist, right? What photo are they putting up of themselves? That's first and foremost and primary. And it's not just photo. Some people make the mistake of having that perfectly poised main profile photo. You swipe left and right, like, who are these other 3 people? I have no idea who these other 3 people are. It's like, there's the catfish. You get them with the beautiful photo, and then you forget you got to clean up all your other photos, right? There's that. So you think that you're doing that one step. And then secondly, it's what are you writing about yourself? What's in your bio, or what's not in your bio? So Sam, when you have been online dating sites or you've talked to friends, sometimes people think that this image is enough. If I just showed up on an app with a couple of pretty photos, sure, I'm going to get bites, but am I going to get the quality of the man that I want? Am I going to get the man that even resonates with me, that shares any similarity at all to my lifestyle, or that knows that I'm a mom of 3, that I'm an entrepreneur, that I have a busy schedule, I don't like to be told what to do, whatever. I'm even going to put my hang-ups in there, right? So you've got to make sure that your image is on point, that you've spent the time to craft a profile and it was thoughtful, and you put in information that could help someone make a meaningful and educated choice about compatibility. Don't talk to me about just your interests and what you do on Friday night, or that you like long walks on the beach and red wine. That tells me nothing about your character. It tells me nothing about your mindset. It tells me nothing about where you want to be in 5 years from now, or if we share similar key life values. And those are the things that I work on and work with my clients to perfect who they're being, what they're putting out there, and always attract what you're seeking. A lot of people make the mistake of attracting a partner to fill a void, to fill a gap. I don't make a lot of money. I want to meet an affluent person so I can get from him or her those skills. Now, that's smart. Sure, you want to have somebody that you can that can uplift you. But when you look for someone else for things that first of all, everyone is fully capable of achieving, acquiring, accomplishing anything that they want. The information is readily there. There are experts that are readily available. It is your willingness to do that, right? When you are uncertain, you will just be uncertain. And if you are uncertain, you seek that support, you find your community, and you go to work on that. So with respect to, attracting the right partner and not getting bites, it always comes down to not about them. What can I do better? What do I need to change, to shift, to swap out? Maybe it's the wrong dating site for you. Maybe it's the wrong app for you. There are so many variables here, Sam, from frequency, intention, how often, the quality. Are you looking for somebody that's just going to come in with an empty cup and you want someone to fill it? Even if you have a half full cup and you want someone to fill the other half, you're still coming from a space that you are not enough and that what you bring to the party is not enough, right? When you come to the party, you don't have to be the center of attention, but you have to show up, right? Otherwise, you might as well be like in high school, the guys and girls at the wall watching other people dance.
Yeah, the wallflowers, yeah. I think those are very valuable points, Carmelia, and I feel bad because I'm asking you for your advice, and it's such broad categories. So you have to forgive me because I know our viewers want to hear from you because you having so much experience. But
I think we actually would probably need a weekly show, Sam, to answer all of the questions.
Hey, I'll do it. I'll do it anytime, Carmelia, anytime. We'll each have our thing, right?
Yeah.
No, they won't want to hear from me. But I wanted to emphasize you're basically saying like the information is out there. So if you're serious about meeting someone and you know your profile needs work, you know you're not presenting that well, you can find the information and make it happen. But you got to be ready for it. And we talked about a couple of other things, or we touched on a couple of other things in our conversations. And I'm going to breach a new topic right now, and that is challenges of different groups. So let's start with different visible minorities. So you mentioned something to me, which I concur because I read the same thing, and that was that Black women and Asian men had what could be called the most negative experiences with various online dating software in a self-report. So could you comment to that, please?
Yeah, it was, for those who are listening, they can Google, racial bias on dating apps. OkCupid is the site that did that report on the users. And of course, when you think about why is it that, Asian men or Black women have negative experiences, it's always attached to some belief or stereotype about that particular culture or that particular segment of the population or ethnicity that is, speaking to the people that are on the apps. Because, by all rights, you and I are minorities. Like, I am not a Caucasian woman on a dating app. So just by that alone, there are statistics that show who is, getting the most attention. And it's always the 80-20, right? The attractive ones, the top of the food chain, the ones that are stable, that everybody wants to meet, the VIPs at a party. You want to get to that. If you're not in that state, number one, that's the experience. Is how can you elevate yourself or use every available tool so that you have a better experience. For minorities, and what I would say is it's only visible when you yourself participate in those, gender biases, and when I just want people to, or I encourage people to examine their partner preferences. And is that partner preference based on some belief? Now, false belief, learned belief, like, have you ever dated a Black woman? And if it's about attraction, you see across the board, there are, I am one kind of looking Asian, but there are so many different features and variables to Asian women that I kind of find it challenging or difficult to believe that someone will just say, I don't like Asian women. And I hear it all the time. It may not be about looks. It could be about that culture stigma or this one experience. And a lot of people who go through relationship trauma or an experience and attached it to, I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, I dated this Spanish guy, or I dated this, Arabic woman, or this Jewish man, or this whatever. I'm not picking on any race. I could say Filipino, right. Asian, Indian, whatever. It's that race, that one person, that bad experience. Guess what? Everybody gets pooled in that bucket. I'm sorry, guys, all black men or all black women it sounds ridiculous. And it happens every single day. So when you focus on values, of course, chemistry and compatibility plays a role, the level of physical attraction. But when your focus is on those values, you eliminate that color, you eliminate that cultural bias, because there is no cultural bias. If your parents are, say, 4th or 5th generation Greek, and you want, let's say your audience is Canadian and American, and you want an American-born or somebody who has, no attachment, or we call it westernized. I still have clients who refuse to date somebody of a certain ethnic race. They might as well have been raised by a foster family, right, and have zero cultural habits and or opinions or practices, and they still discount that individual based on what they look like. So these biases and these cultural norms are so ingrained and almost, I think, in their evolutionary psychology that they are just not attracted to it. It'll take something really massive for that to shift. Yeah. And that's why we had 2020, the Black Lives Matter movement, right? We've had all of these different issues at hand that force us to really look at what are we looking for in a life partner? And are the things that I believe to be important in a life partner really important? And what can I do to kind of challenge that? Because if you are missing out on opportunities that you don't even know, most people don't know what they don't know, and they don't know what they're missing out on because they've never experienced it. And I can tell you, after 28 years in this industry, I have seen so many pairings of people that are madly in love, that look at each other and said, I would have swiped left if I went on your dating profile. Like, I wouldn't have even paid attention to you, right? But through a different medium, or they took a chance, or they let their guard down, and they focused on the key core compatibilities, they got together, and it's working.
For myself, I can say that I feel people really have to meet to determine compatibility and chemistry. For the most part. I mean, sometimes you can glean some things over a phone conversation, but I find that online information is so scarce. I don't even like texting, quite frankly, because of the lack of communication. And, texting is a culture and a language all to its own, right? And maybe it's my generation. But, what about, you talked about preferences, and I know depending on how people were raised, where they were raised, what they were exposed to, for instance, with men, or men, people who self-identify as male, they might be attracted to a certain, aspect. People who self-identify as female might be attracted to a certain aspect. But in general, people are attracted to what they're attracted to. Do you believe in love or lust at first sight? And if so, like, how does that play into things? Or is it hormonal? Is it something else? Is it everything? You know what I mean? I'm sure you've been asked this question a lot, and you've probably thought about it a lot.
Do I believe in lust and love at the same time? Well, if you're, people who believe in love at first sight, that's hindsight. There is, now I can say, Sam, I love you. Thank you for being on here. And we sometimes use the love word very loosely. Some people don't even utter the love word. I think I have a very large and close social network, and we say we love each other all the time. To that point, lust, yes, that happens on Instagram every day. Like you can lust for anybody, anytime. You can lust for the bartender. You can lust for the guy opening your car door. Like, lust is easy because that's a physical, primal, sexual context. But beyond that, that's all that is. Lust without substance and without the compatibility will only just be that. And that's why we have friends with benefits, relationships that are casual, and hookup culture. Because, yeah, I agree. I'm into you. We're hot for each other. But beyond that, no, you got to get, we're two different human beings on different paths, but we're a sexual fit. So a sexual match is different than a life partner match. And Sam, sometimes the life partner match, it doesn't start. I'm not saying it lacks that spark, but many relationship experts and a lot of people will warn you about that super hot chemistry as the sticking point for your relationships, because relationships go beyond the sexual chemistry, and they're in fact heightened when there's a deeper, meaningful, true, gut loving kind of relationship bond that you form with somebody, which is far, in my opinion, far more romantic, far more lustful and enjoyable when you have the safety, security, and comfort of this person that is basically your ride or die, right? And sex has nothing to do with that kind of a bond.
You're romantic at heart, Carmelia.
Of course. That's why I'm in this business.
That's why you're in business, yeah. I could talk to you forever. Honestly, I want to ask you how you got into this, what little Carmelia was thinking, but I'll defer that for now. Let's talk a little bit about...
Carmelia, teenage Carmelia
was bad. Okay, all right. Tell us.
I was bad.
Tell us a little bit.
Oh God. Okay. This is about getting it real. Now the tea is, my teacup just fell.
Oh dear.
So,
all right.
Because I was raised by two very traditional Filipino family. I have an older brother and a younger brother. So my parents immigrated to Canada. I was born in 72, so I'm giving up my age. You guys do the math. Don't you dare say it out loud. I have a 22-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So I'm also a mom of 3.
Super mom.
When my parents came to Canada, they had 3 small kids. I was, 3 years old because my brother was 1. And so I basically grew up in Toronto, but they kept their old school values and they were very, very strict. I'm an Aries. I haven't changed much as a child. I am on the go, always out. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I do anyway, right? Like I won't break the rules, but I might bend them a little bit, to get there. Anyway, so coming from that, and by the way, I was an academic and I played sports. So I did all the right things. I got the A+, the A's, all that was expected of a good, being so stereotypical now.
Yes.
I mean, of a good Asian daughter.
I get it.
Right?
I understand.
So when time that I was a teenager and my dad would just say no for the sake of saying no, but really he was trying to protect me, right? Yeah. But, when you are a teen, all you want to do is hang out with your friends, right? You don't want those limitations. I ended up running away from home when I was 17 because to me, that environment at home, when I saw other families that were born and raised here, they didn't have those restrictions. Their parents they were allowed to basically do what they wanted, right? And they did have a good relationship. So it took a long time, but I left my home at a young age. So I didn't finish high school at 17. I had to go back to school as a young adult. I think I got my high school diploma when I was 21 years old, but I had been living on my own and independently. So I also have an education from the School of Hard Knocks, having to literally living out of a car, being homeless, running into the wrong boy, being in an abusive relationship as a result of that, which I thought was, I thought my home life was quote unquote abusive because mentally I couldn't handle that, right? And then I went and experienced life. And it was in that journey of life that led me to a part-time job at a matchmaking company in 1992. While I was probably, Sam, working 3 other jobs. Like I was just trying to make ends meet as a young person. on my own.
You don't mind me asking, what were you doing?
I was working at a bookstore, Cole's bookstore.
Yeah,
I was working at a clothing store, Le Chateau.
Oh,
and
man.
I was working at
Le Chateau, I think.
It's in Montreal. And then I was also working at a breakfast house, Golden Griddle. I was working
I remember
at Golden Griddle.
Yeah.
So 3 different jobs, 3 different times. And my friend was like, I just got a job as a telemarketer at a dating company called Together Dating. I said, what do I have to do? He's like, you have to make phone calls and talk to single people and book appointments. So I literally was a cold caller in a sweatshop before social media, before Match.com. I dialed it was probably a button phone, but it was rotary dial, guys. Okay?
My goodness. I didn't know that was a thing. I did cold calling too, but I was calling senior citizens in French.
No, I was calling people about their love life. Hey, are you single?
Wow, back then.
I've had since then, and I started in a phone room in a call center, part-time, then full-time. I've interviewed and I did the math, it's over 65,000 singles across the globe, helped facilitated thousands of matches, and I worked 60 to 70 hours a week on the phone every day talking to singles. So I knew I had my ear on the pulse of the problem, right? Yeah. So, and it's still the same. And so that's where I knew it wasn't like, did I think I was going to do that? Did little Carmelia say I was going to ever become a matchmaker? No, but I did always want to be on television, and I did have a TV show, and I had appeared multiple times. I had 4 seasons of my show, Mom vs. Matchmaker, which is produced here in Toronto, a broadcast in 85 countries, still playing on Out TV in Canada and in other networks. It was interesting. You know, I had a little bit of a taste of fame, let's say, when somebody sent me a clip of myself on Latin Discovery, and I was dubbed in Spanish. And I didn't like my Spanish voice. I'm like, that doesn't sound like me at all.
Oh, my goodness.
But it felt really cool to see that. Oh, cool. That was awesome. So
yeah, I wonder how they choose these dubbings. But
I don't know. It was pretty neat. But since then, showing me too. How do I find clients? I have to show up every day. I have to adjust my schedule if we have to adjust my schedule. I've got to keep myself as a brand and visibility for my clients. They want to see that I am working on helping them meet the right people. And right now, the best place to do that is right here with you on Zoom calls, in Eventbrite rooms, on networking calls, joining this Clubhouse app, which is like a crazy rave right now for social media. And I'm loving it. And just doing everything that I can. So business has not stopped. So at the same time, Sam, a lot of my counterparts, and not a lot, some people chose to take a break.
Yeah.
And some of my clients chose to go on pause.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. But meeting people, business is always about momentum.
Right.
And if you stop, it takes so much energy and effort to start that movement.
Yeah.
If you're already always keeping moving, then it's not going to be as big of a monster or as big of a long road when you're already chugging along. So my business isn't successful because, the pandemic hit. It's also because I didn't stop working, right? So I didn't stop working.
Well, Carmelia, I'm just going to say this right out. I'd love to interview you again. And I know you're going to appear on television very shortly after this interview today. So I just want to say that, but I want to ask you a question about diversity and online dating. So online dating today as compared to, say, 10 years ago is very different. And I know that in terms of the LGBTQ community, many apps, many organizations are inclusive. Can you comment to that now? And can you also comment as to the challenges that the LGBTQ population?
Community? Yeah, I mean, I certainly am not the expert on LGBTQ dating. That being said, even on my show, Mom vs. Matchmaker, we did LGBTQ, what do we do? We matched LGBTQ couples. And how we recruited, even for our show, because it was a reality TV show, so it was based on real-time search.
Right.
I had to compete against a mom to find a match. And when I have a 22-year-old young person that's looking for a match, and I typically, Sam, my private clients are typically, 28 plus, 45 plus that are, already looking for a life partner or looking for their second life partner, right? So what did I have to do? I had to go on a dating app. I had to go on dating apps. I had to, go to where young people go to recruit. And so what was the question again? I just got a little sidetracked.
It's so different today. So
the LGBTQ.
Yeah. Yeah. And the challenges, unique challenges faced.
So the challenges with that, if you think of Facebook alone, here's my challenge as a matchmaker in trying to facilitate and better understand the entire community. It's no longer it's not a linear thing. There are 52 or 75 different ways to describe somebody's gender preference.
Yeah.
And there's all this language that's attached to the appropriate description. Mm-hmm. And it's different to say you're bisexual and you're queer or you're LGBTQ or you are non-binary. Right. And so the challenge with dating in that sector, and especially maybe for new singles who are just identifying and coming out and exploring their own sexuality, I think perhaps the biggest challenge is there's so many buckets. Where do I fall and how do I communicate that? And if I'm just newly aware, or maybe you're always aware, but you're now newly dating, like a straight person is newly dating. There's a whole list of concerns and questions and how-tos, but I know that I'm a man looking for a woman. That's super clear. Mm-hmm. Imagine being LGBTQ. You don't know how to define yourself and you don't know how to define what you're looking for. And even within that, you still don't know. And frankly, as a straight person, same thing. You might know you want to date a woman. A straight man wants to date a straight woman, but you still may not know what do you want in that straight woman, and what do you bring to the table as a straight man that you think this is going to be a good, a pair.
I think that's a great point.
So much. There's so much there.
Yeah, and I mean, not knowing what you want, or knowing what you want and maybe not wanting to admit it or feeling guilty about it.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Can you touch on that a little bit? On preferences and feeling guilty, especially in this age of, self-identity, and say that you like a particular look or a certain disposition, and you're coming to terms with that on your own, but you don't put that out there. Is there a danger? And if you do, is there a danger?
I would always say you mentioned a lot about authenticity. You mentioned a lot about being truthful. You also mentioned a lot about discovery. I think we all have concerns, guilt, shame attached to our partner preference. A lot of times people will say to me, let's say I'm speaking to a gentleman and he's like, I don't want to date Asians. I mean, you're really nice, but I just don't want to date Ray. And, they feel guilty about that.
Sure.
And of course, it's not my place as a matchmaker to challenge what the preferences are. Mm-hmm. However, I'm about getting to know someone deeply, understanding where is that rooted from. What are your partner, the question to ask is, are your partner preferences and what you're looking for ultimately limiting your possibility or opportunity at finding love, or are they based on some belief that you can explore or go deeper with? It's similar to the entire Black Lives Matter movement. We are all still, many of us are so afraid to enter conversation, afraid to add opinion, because we don't know what to say. We don't want to get pounced on. We don't want to come from a place of judgment. We want to learn. But I really truly believe if you're asking the question, then you are, curious about making some kind of change or difference. And then I would say that you would talk to your, trusted and closest allies whose opinion you value, or an expert such as myself. There's hundreds of coaches. It does not have to be me. And frankly, I probably don't have time to talk to everybody, right? Just seek somebody out to see whether or not there's something that you can shift. or if there's something you can try on, because it can grow on you, or maybe even hang out with a person of that race, hang out with a person in that culture, speak to several people before you completely eliminate or discount. I can't tell you how many times I'm talking somebody off a ledge, or I'm presenting a match and addressing these biases and addressing these concerns and asking them to put their trust and faith in me and say, I would not be putting this together if I did not believe it was a good use of time, and that this exchange, this communication exchange, this life exchange, if you cannot give somebody 5 minutes to explore whether or not you could be a great partner, and at the end of the day, you can confirm and or test what you already believe, you know, and for people that do go on dates when they didn't want to, or where they thought they maybe didn't, I've never had someone come back to me and say, well, I'm not going to say never, but more times than not, they will say, thank you for making that call and for having me go on that date. I learned so much, and that completely changed my point of view. Or they got something out of it where they realized that what they believed was false. And so those kinds of self-discoveries where you're putting yourself to the test and really come back down to what truly matters, and kindness. And really, I'm probably the most impartial, unbiased person. And in my private life, I've dated, it's a multicultural pot, right? Yeah, so
from experience, Carmelia, this is valuable information. You're talking about being honest, knowing one's biases, putting in the work and following through, trying new things and being open-minded. I think these are all great things. Now, I know you probably thought about some things that you've never talked about, and I want you to address one of those things right now. What have you never spoken about on an interview before? Something that's been bothering you, or something that you'd like to talk about? I want to give you the chance right here, because I want this to be different. I want this to be different. Go ahead.
I did a personal development course where they say, I want you to, you want to cough up that lizard, or swallow the frog. Swallow the frog or whatever.
Swallow that frog. I love Brian Tracy.
I would say there isn't anything that I am. My biggest dilemma that I started to go to work on at the end of 2020 was my health and fitness. Okay, so I am born in 72. I have, my daughter is 4, so I actually, you can do the math. This is going to be super easy.
I did the math. I did the math automatically.
Yeah. I had my daughter at 44, and I have a 4-year-old. And thank you.
Fantastic. You're giving me hope.
Yeah.
I'm older than you.
So, you're for the men and women out there, I'll just experience, I know because you've done personal training and physical fitness, and you look like you're in great shape. So for me, my biggest struggle has been my health and fitness. And it's not necessarily about what's on the scale, but I absolutely used to carry weight at this amount before the baby. And then after the baby, I probably have put on 20 pounds of not even baby weight. It's just weight. I'll just call it weight, because it has nothing to do with the baby. She's 4 now. So that's been my biggest struggle. And I think I started to really tackle it because it was really bothering me. That was the thing that was like, man, I'm my word about, showing up to events. I'm my word about waking up in the morning. If it's I'm my word about calling this client back. So when it comes down to being my word about business or opportunities that are non-health related, I'll prioritize those. It's like I'm addicted. That's it. I'm a workaholic. I 100% am a bit of a workaholic, to the point where 2020 allowed me to realize that, what matters, and that I got to carve out time for the kids. And because I grew up with parents that work 24/7. I'm just a product of my own environment. And my dad actually didn't even live at home at times. He would live overseas. He worked at a nuclear power plant, not overseas. Like he'd be 4 or 5 hours away. So his commute was weekends at home. I was like, Dad's home, yay. But during the week, it was my mother And my mom at 75, like, she keeps dabbling in where she will work until the day someone puts her in a casket. Like, that's my mom, right?
Same. My mom worked well into her 70s, and it was only hip replacement that slowed her down, you know?
So I think for me, it's really just about focusing on my health. And I started working with a personal trainer. I had done personal training on and off, but I got really serious about it. Hired one of my good friends from high school. It's so funny. I'm getting in touch with all my high school friends. My girlfriend who did my face is a girlfriend that I knew from high school too. So the pandemic. Oh
yeah, I met her right there. Yeah.
Like the pandemic has made other, these distant connections and people that I haven't talked to, or, life just went by. And so even if you give that, 5 minutes, that thoughtful text, the, hey, how are you? The like on Instagram, like these are the ways that or Facebook or whatever, the reshare on Twitter. These are ways that we can do our part in trying to stay connected. Because the other thing is you can't foster like so many relationships. So it's tough. That's been the other part for me is, knowing that, hey, there's a limited amount of time in the day. And my word for 2021 is focus. And I chose that word as a direct result of leaving 2020, knowing what do I need more of in 2021? I need focus. So that is my theme. No resolutions of any kind. And that focus will apply to every aspect of my life, my business, my family, my kids, my health, my finances. All of those things will be applied in focus.
Okay, looking to the future, Carmelia, what advice do you have for people? We don't know what's going to happen with this pandemic. Will there be another one? What's going to happen with the vaccine? We really don't know what's going to happen. So I think you've given some good broad advice here. But what are your hopes for the future? And if you can give us more advice on what to do, I'd be very grateful for that. And I am going to interview you again, whether you like it or not. And I'm going to put it out there. If you ever want to talk about fitness, training, nutrition, I'm very happy.
Yeah, we'll go offline for that. I absolutely will chat with you about that for sure.
Sure, okay. My pleasure.
I've had the real privilege in the last couple of days to be on this new app, Sam, I mentioned to you. I don't get paid to talk about them at all, but it's just, I'm raving about it. It's called Clubhouse app. And entrepreneurs every day in different sectors give their free advice. I think it's a great platform for you. And to your point about 2020, one of the comments that I heard just today or within the last couple of days is I think it was Grant Cardone who said that. Be ready for the next pandemic, or be ready for the next whatever it is, right? Knowing what you've been through now, what do we need to do? What can you do today that can pivot or change your business, that you are not relying on that one thing? So in 2020, I launched a matchmaking academy. I launched my podcast. I'm in my new production studio that I launched January 1st, 2021. We thought of the idea in January 2020, brought it in. I launched a not-for-profit. I launched so many initiatives. They're all in their seeds right now. It's not like they're giving back right away, but in the middle of the pandemic, where else am I going to have the time to be creative and to not be attached to a computer 24/7 and really dive deep and make the best use of that, right? So it did feel a little scattered, I have to say, which is why now it's about focusing and then really stepping back and looking at all the things and saying, which of these things, how do I divide my time? Where do I put my attention? And not removing the fact that my personal life matters, because there are waves in our relationships that need attending and that need more focus. So that's the thing. And Grant Cardone was also the one that said, don't make sure you have multiple sources. So now, does that mean, does that mean that you have to go look for another opportunity? I think opportunities there. People are finding ways to monetize social media. People are finding ways to monetize Instagram. Any mom right now on this site can make cookies or share a recipe or do something domestic at home, teach somebody a cool way to fold their clothes. I don't know. Like, the TikTok is taking over the nation. There's so many things that you can explore. Pick something and work on it so that I think you have more confidence too when you know that, okay, that one thing failed. All right, I'm going to put my energy here. I want to put myself in a position where I'm not relying on that one thing. And in the same time, what I'm doing over here supports what I'm doing here and supports what I'm doing here. So find projects that are synergistic. Like, for example, if you run a makeup line or you're in nutraceuticals or you're a physical fitness trainer, you can sell products, you can promote products, you can refer other health professionals. So surround yourself with those people also. In my matchmaking business, I connect with stylists, I connect with videographers, photographers, beauty experts, media professionals. Like, I have a very large, close circle of people, vendors and partners that they send me their clients, I send them their clients, and we all refer each other and we just support wherever we can.
I love that. I love to be a part of networking that way. I think that's the wave of the future. Honestly, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You're talking a lot about influences, and it's been said that you're the sum total of the 5 people you hang out with the most. And I've learned that over the decades, that is more and more and more true. How true that is scary. It really is scary. So I think you're not only giving us advice for dating, Carmelia, you're giving us advice for success in life.
It's the same. I think it's this. To me, it's the same thing. The quote that I borrow all the time, Sheryl Sandberg, the COO of Facebook, probably one of the most recognized executive women in the world, said, the most important career choice you make is the person you marry. And you can spin that so many ways sideways. People will judge you or consider doing business with you based on who you surround yourself with. And I have to tell you, the people that were in my life in a period where I went through my party phase and dark moments and whatever, they're not in my circle. No way. Oh God, there's my MacBook charger. My phone is we might have to wrap. I might have to wrap up here because
all right. Yeah,
it's saying my MacBook is going to die.
Oh dear. Oh
yeah, okay. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, like I said, I want to actually continue this interview because I think you have a wealth of information, not just for dating, but for success, because you've had an interesting life journey. Maybe next time we can talk more about Carmelia and her life journey. Maybe that's something you haven't talked a lot about. But I just wanted to touch on one more thing, and you mentioned the CEO of Facebook. Let's talk momentarily about Facebook and Instagram and other social media. Do you see any cons to this? Because when you and I were growing up, there was no such thing. And now look at what's happening with so-called influencers. I don't like the term, by the way, because I like to feel I do my own thing, but we are influenced. We are influenced depending on where you put your attention, right? And so that's the thing. That's their shtick, right?
I would say, here's what I will tell you what I learned about matchmaking when I pair anybody up. The number one thing people are going to do as soon as they identify who you are, they are going to Google you and they are going to digital stalk you all day long. They're going to look at your Facebook. They're going to look at who you dated. They're going 52 weeks deep into your profile.
Only 52.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 120 for those that are really interested. Okay. So you've got to do a social media scrub and audit when you're putting yourself out there. Think about that crazy thing you said. Like you got to be your own PR brand manager and manage the stuff from the past. I have a family name. I have my professional name. And when I was thinking of pivoting from television to, do I want to be identified by this and who was this person? Sometimes too, people were defined by that relationship and they had everything about their profile was about the relationship, everything that went on in that. Well, if you're going to enter a new relationship, you got to think about those things, right? Like, is that you now? Does that even reflect who you are? I've had to share with so many clients, oh, you know, I discovered, is it this person? Yeah, check out this literally 2 years ago, this is the picture. I don't like how this person looks in this picture. Yeah, I don't think so. She said these phrases. People do that. Now, of course, at the same time, if you're the one on the receiving end, or you're the one looking, what are you looking for? You know, are you just looking so that you can be like, aha, they're not right for me? Or like, are you looking at with non-judgment eyes and saying, okay, I'm curious to know what this meant. Who is this person today? Like what does this mean? You're not defined by your past, you know, or you shouldn't be anyway. And so these are things that I would encourage people to look at as well, is don't just discount someone or swipe left or think they're no good because there's one thing or image that in the past that you're judging them on. I don't think anybody wants to be judged in that way.
No, I mean, it's certainly, if you've learned from something in the past that someone's not comfortable with, you've made changes. But I think many people are afraid of being lied to. They're
100%.
Right? They're afraid to be, so they're looking for that. I mean, and their past might not be lily white as well, right? So you have to take that in consideration too. So like, I think that's a really good point. What are you looking for exactly? What are you looking for? But people are afraid of being lied to, and they're with the information around us today, they're doing their very best to scope out as much as possible. I mean, if it wasn't the internet, if it was 50 years ago, they'd be asking friends of friends. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, we gotta wrap up. Okay,
we have to wrap up.
Are there any links?
My thing is gonna die. So for those who'd like to connect, my Instagram is @Carmelia Ray. My website is carmeliaray.com. If you go to the link in my website or on Instagram, you can book a free 15-minute Zoom call with me, or a phone call. Happy to connect. Would love to hear from you. For all you singles out there that are looking for love, let's chat in 2021. This is the year for love and change, and I'm so, looking forward to supporting you on that journey.
Carmelia Ray, thank you so much, celebrity matchmaker and online dating expert. I'm Dr. Sam Dubé on behalf of Agora Media and the Etiquette Show. Thank you again for your graciousness, Carmelia, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
Good luck today. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
I know. This is awesome.
A lot of people think that when you watch TV, it takes thousands of dollars in order to produce a show. But MNN has proved to me that with a small team, you can make big things happen.
I have taken every workshop.
Editing labs were amazing. They will help you with those first few shows to get you up and running.
The best thing about my education at MNN is that it's never going to stop.
I called my mother and thanked her for bringing me to this country because there is this and I get to do this.
Find out how you can get involved. Visit MNN.org/education.
I'm Gail Brewer, the Manhattan Borough President.
My name is Yulene New, and I am the Assembly Member for the 65th District.
I'm Councilmember Helen Rosenthal.
I'm New York State Senator Brian Benjamin.
I'm New York State Controller Tom DiNapoli.
I'm Ben Max, Executive Editor of Gotham Gazette.
And this is Represent NYC
on the Manhattan
Neighborhood
Network. Represent NYC, bringing you local voices on the issues that impact your life.
I believe that it's time to shut down Rikers Island.
Given what's going on in the city right now, people get stuck on the trains and just the level of frustration.
It's literally vital to the life of the city and derivatively of the state.
Women definitely have a unique perspective in public policy.
I'd also like to see a really cogent argument as to why you deserve another 4 years.
When it comes to our priorities, we're all pretty much aligned. It's quality of life. It's affordability.
That's Sundays at 7 p.m. and Wednesday at 9 p.m. on MNN1 and MNN HD. Visit MNN.org/Represent NYC for updates, episodes, and more.